Today I'm going to share with you one instance from my most memorable race in the National Karting Championship. It was a hot day of summer at Kari Motor Raceway. We had all settled into our starting block, waiting for the go. The winds were silent like the calm before the storm. And I could see the mechanics just clinking, trying to give their racing drivers that last edge, that extra mile to win. I myself was sitting in my car and looking at everyone, trying to understand the strategy. Once the lights go out, would he go left or would he go right? Where should I dive in to make that extra position? Because that's what decides the win. While I was deliberating all of this, the flag dropped and the race started. 4 cars went into one corner, that's one turn. And I was thinking, if I make this move, I get to be champion. If I don't make it, I have a DNF, that did not finish. Very, very bad, that is. Then I went for it, and all of a sudden, I was in the lead. I'm leading the race, lap after lap. I can see the trophy dancing in front of my eyes. I can picture myself standing on top of that podium and beating all these boys to their game. And at one point, I feel the sudden jerk. I was wondering, did somebody hit me? Because that actually happens a lot. But it was not that case. Then I checked my accelerator cable. Is it intact? Yes, it was intact. Then I heard the engine, it was dying, and the fuel was contaminated, or there was a blockage. Meanwhile, one car overtakes me, and the other is right at my rear wheel. Then I think I have to do something, and I'm driving, I'm pinching the fuel line, and pressing the accelerator. And nothing is happening. I thought I've lost it all. But during the struggle, all of a sudden, I got a sudden jerk, and my engine came up. By now, I was number 3. And 2 laps to go, that's it. Then I fought, and I made some aggressive moves, and I finally found myself on top of the podium, making this race one of my most memorable of the life, and also giving me the title of national champion. Thanks. This also reminds me of the words of Theodore Roosevelt. Do what you can, where you are, with what you have. And I think that's exactly what I did, and that's what I try in general. Most Formula drivers, as you know, start their roots at go-karting, and now currently I drive Formula cars. There are many facts about racing that some of you know and many of us don't, so today I'll share them with you. Racing is more than just about speed. Now, a lot of us think you just go pedal to metal, press the accelerator, full speed, and you become a racing driver. But truth is, in real racing, that is not what we really do. I myself have been at a top speed of 260 kilometers an hour, and trust me, it's very easy. In a straight line, 260, not a problem. But when the time comes, the turn is approaching, you have to brake, slow down, turn, accelerate, and pop out of the corner really fast, life gets very difficult. In such a situation, even 20 kilometers an hour can become really difficult. That's right, just 20 kilometers an hour for that particular corner. One other astonishing fact is that in racing, time is measured in 1,000th of a second, which requires us to have really fast reflexes. In fact, just last year, my lap time was 1 minute, 12 seconds, 0.256. And that's what decides whether you start your race first, second, third, and if you win the race. And the point of reflexes, now say 2 cars are going at 200 kilometers an hour, side by side, everything is good, and something goes wrong and this car is now pointing at you. Now you're about dealing with the 400 kmph. It's very important to do quick reactions, turn immediately, do your maneuvers, and get out of the situation, or else we can have catastrophes. Second point. I know my car as well as I know myself. I can stand here proudly today and say that because I've worked many years to understand my car. Specifications, the current car, 1.3-liter engine, 1300 cc, 200 kmph top power. All this is essentially required when you're pushing a vehicle to its limit in normal and abnormal circumstances. A lesser-known fact, most racing drivers spend months before their season, before their race, sitting with the mechanics and discussing how they would want their vehicle to handle. how the wheel would feel, how the pedal would feel, how soft or hard it is, and how the engine is. I not only tell them what to do on my car, I actually sit and hands-on work on the car. My style is rather aggressive, so the suspension is usually quite stiff. Another fact which some of you out here might be familiar with the sounds of the engine, and you can recognize the car. But as an experienced racing driver, I can not only tell the type of car, we are also trained to tell the problems with the car by hearing the sound of the engine. For example, I'm driving on the racetrack and I hear my engine popping. I come inside and tell my tuner, mechanics, and they work on the car. This process is called a pit stop. Now, you'd be surprised, in Formula One, the most efficient pit stops happen in less than 3 seconds. That's right. By the time I finished my sentence, a car was lifted up, tires were changed, refueling happened, and the car was ready and off to go. Another fact. Racing requires serious fitness levels. Now, there's one question I am very tired of answering. Sneha, why are you going to the gym? You just have to sit down and drive. But yes, trust me, sitting for 2 hours and driving with high G-forces and competing is very difficult. I'm sure a lot of us has heard of the term G-force and racing together. Formula One drivers can face up to 3 to 4 Gs while cornering and braking. That is about 3 to 4 times the body's weight. Thus, a lot of fitness is required, such as cardiovascular training, strength training, and physiotherapy before a racing driver sits in the car to compete. And one other fact which baffled me before I joined racing is that I'm sure most of you out there, I'm sure you all are healthy, your heart rates would be 70 beats per minute. When we work out, it goes out to an average of 130 beats per minute. And when driving a Formula car, it can go up to 170 beats per minute. I'm sure that is enough proof to say that one needs to work out to race. One of the other points is discipline. Racing is a very disciplined sport. Now, I agree we've all seen Fast and Furious, and we see those cars zooming, sliding, squealing tires, and some of us think that's all racing is all about. But in all honesty, on the racetrack, if you are locking your wheels, if you have wheel spin and sliding sounds, you're losing time. Because we're not just racing against other people, we're racing against time itself to complete that one round in the shortest duration of time. This one instance, which has been imprinted on my mind, happened just last year. I was driving a Formula car. I was nearing a speed of 200 kilometers an hour, running number 2 in the race. Now, this driver behind me is very aggressive, but aggression needs to be used sensibly, right? So this guy's going left, he's going right, he's trying to swerve, trying to distract me. One moment, he's in my rearview mirror. Other moment, he's in the air. So what happened is, his front wheel touched my back wheel, and he got lifted in the air. And he spun in the air, fell apart, and he landed just with the cockpit of the car. Now, while this was happening, his parts fell on me. And it can be fatal if it hits you in the head in a particular angle. But luckily, all went well, and I finished on the podium. But that is not what I remember as much as him right here flying and falling apart. As racing drivers, we are trained to handle emergencies in case we have race incidents. Now, if we don't fall, we're not running fast enough sometimes. So in practice, we push the car to its limit. In racing, we drive it slightly slower just so that we do not go off track. It is important to not let go of the wheel if you know you're going to crash. You have to swerve in the correct way, avoid your fellow racing drivers, the marshals, objects, and make sure if you have lost control, you go and fall or land up in a place which is safe. So if I'm going straight and I see there's no runoff area, I'm going to do this. When I do this, my car is going sideways, I'm sliding, I've killed a lot of speed. I will not hit the wall as fast or hard. Competition, as well as in life and on racetrack, is essential for our progress, for us to become better. Somebody famous said that the enemy of the best is good. Racing being a very competitive sport and expensive sport. But most important part, it allows men and women to compete on the same platform. Now till date, there are not many women on the racetrack. That makes me most often the only girl on track. But somehow, I don't let that baffle me. I always tell myself, once the helmet is on, I'm only a racing driver. It doesn't matter. My gender doesn't matter. Where I come from doesn't matter. As soon as I put on my boots, I strap on my gloves, I surrender myself to that moment. I become one with the car. It's an extension to myself. And I think that's what makes racing what it really is. What I'm not scared of is death, really, when I enter the car. What I'm really scared of is a DNF, did not finish. And if life is a track and all of us are going to die, then I choose to have a fastest lap. Thank you.